Hi everyone, so in this video I'll be sharing my experience on the 300-hour yoga teacher training in Bali. So I went to Bali for the training, and while I was there I just kept recording random little moments of the training, and I planned on making a vlog, but I didn't really have a plan or a script in my mind. Now that I'm back, I was just looking through all the clips that I've made, and I thought I'll just sit down and share my experience on it. And I think this journey began even before I arrived in Bali. And I say that because I was taking a solo flight to Bali, and it was such a big deal for me. It might be very normal for most people, and it was a normal thing to do for me as well. But after I experienced two major panic attacks years ago, one happened in a crowded place and another while I was taking a flight. And after that experience of the panic attack, everything in my life started to change. Everything that felt normal and started to become really scary, like, being in a crowded place, even walking in the mall, driving. And one of the most scary thing for me was getting into the plane. And for a long time after that panic attack, I could only get into the plane with my partner. So flying alone to Bali was a huge milestone for me. And I remember the night before the flight, I was packing with so much excitement. I had no fear about it because I had spent years working on myself, my healing, and also I've been helping support people with who came through similar experiences. So I was really confident about flying alone. When I arrived in the airport, I remember I was really calm, and that in itself was a huge win for me, because before, my anxiety would usually start as soon as I walked inside the airport and the door closes behind me. My hands would start getting sweaty, and when I was waiting into the boarding line, that line would trigger me again. My heartbeat would start racing, my breath would become very shallow and fast. That was the case before, but this time everything was calm. I walked into the airport, past the boarding line, and boarding felt normal. I went inside and I sat down, and the plane took off. And at that moment when the plane really took off, that's when I felt like, okay, I've really overcome this. But halfway through the flight, my anxiety came back, and that is one of the most difficult thing about anxiety. It comes without warning. You could have a most ordinary, moment of your life, and it would just come and take over you. And that is what exactly happened. I had no trigger in the flight. I was not scared of anything, and it just came, and I had to call the crew, and he gave me a paper bag to breathe into it, and I was breathing into it for what felt like forever. I think around 15 to 20 minutes. As I was breathing into it, the tears started to flow down, and by that time, more than fear, I was angry and I was frustrated and a little bit sad that it was happening again after all the work I've done on myself. The crew then moved me to another seat where there was more leg space, and there I met a very kind woman. And even there, I was breathing into the paper for almost 10 to 15 minutes. And that woman was really kind, very supportive, and she really helped me breathe through it and calmed me down. And after I've really calmed myself down, we began to talk, and I shared about myself to that woman. How irony and funny it was that I was having that attacks again when I was, working in a space where I was supporting people. And she said something at that time that I'll never forget. She said that before anything else, before I was, that energy healer or someone who's supporting people with similar situation, she said, "You are a human." And that really stayed with me. It was so powerful, and I think I really needed to hear that at that moment. So when I arrived in Bali, the first thing I did was sat down and set my intention for this training. So my intention for this training was to make myself physically stronger. And throughout my journey, I think I have worked so much on my mental and emotional self, and I didn't pay much attention to my physical self. And my physical self became really fragile after that panic attack. I used to go to gym, and lifting anything heavy was very difficult for me. Pushing myself became really difficult, and even while doing yoga, the postures that I could do before became very hard for me to hold. um, that's how I noticed my physical self was very fragile and weak. I truly believe that our physical vessel is like a doorway to our soul, our mind, and something greater than ourselves. So that's why I wanted to give my priority on my physical, self in that training. And looking back now, I don't think that mild attack in the plane weakened me at all. But if anything, it strengthened my intention for why I was there for the training. And now I feel like all of that was meant to happen for me to really strengthen my intention. And that intention also became like an anchor for me throughout that month of training. So the training began, and the first week was all about excitement because everything felt new, and we had a really beautiful welcome ceremony. We got settled into our rooms and started exploring the space. The place itself was absolutely stunning. It was spacious, peaceful, and surrounded by nature, and it had such a grounding energy that made it so easy to settle in. And there were people from all over the world, from 8 different countries, and it was so nice getting to know everyone and hearing their stories and knowing what brought them there. We slowly began to settle into the daily routine, and every day was packed with something new to learn, and I found myself genuinely looking forward to waking up every morning in the first week. By the second week, things started feeling different. We already knew the routine, we knew the people, we knew the food, and we knew what each day would look like. And that's when my mind started doing what I think all of our minds do. Once something becomes familiar, this mind starts looking for something new, and the excitement slowly settled, and I started feeling homesick. I missed my family, I missed home, and even the physical practices started feeling a little more challenging. But looking back now, I realized this was also part of the journey. It wasn't always about the exciting moments, but also about continuing to show up. And I think the intention I set on the very first day is what kept me going. It gave me something to come back to, even on the days when it felt challenging. Then it was the third week, and it was all about noticing the little changes, and I could feel my body getting stronger, and all the daily practices we were doing, the pranayama, meditation, asana, all of it started coming together, and I could actually feel the difference in myself. My breathing became deeper, I felt more comfortable and connected with my body, and some of the postures that felt difficult in the beginning started becoming more accessible and easier. And I think seeing all those small changes gave all of us more motivation to keep going deeper into the practice. The days were becoming more intense, but at the same time, they became even more meaningful because we could see why we were putting in all the effort. By the fourth week, we were all busy preparing for our exams and presentations. The days started slipping by faster than expected, and before we knew it, the training was over. We got our certificates and it was time to say goodbye. And I remember filming everyone at our last lunch together, and I was feeling a little bit emotional and teary while doing it. And it was such a meaningful part of the journey, and saying goodbye wasn't easy at all. And I feel that's the beauty of traveling. It's not just about, new places or new people. Every experience gives you a chance to see yourself differently. And this journey gave me a new perspective on myself, my growth, and the person I was becoming. Then it was time to catch my flight home again, and this time I wasn't scared at all. I accepted that anxiety will definitely show up again, No matter how much work I put into myself, life will definitely throw me new challenges, and that was completely okay, because at the end of the day, we are all human. And being human means we are built to feel the anxiety, the fear, the doubt. They are not signs that something is wrong, but they're just part of what it means to be alive and feeling. And in those times, all we can do is keep showing up, keep growing, and eventually we bloom.